This is Kababalaghan 101, your home for creative stories for all supernatural from the Philippine mythology and folklore. The Serpent's Pearl. In the heart of an ancient forest deep in Samar Island, where shadows danced between ancient trees and whispers of forgotten magic lingered in the air, a mystical gem called a carbuncle can be found. This story tells of the heroic Sitrong who bore the magical carbuncle upon its forehead, and his friends as they fight to protect the forest from the threat of men, monsters, and magic.
Chapter 2, Sorcerer's Arrival. Datu's arrival in Maganhan was marked by an eerie silence. Birds ceased their songs, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The sorcerer moved with purpose, his eyes gleaming with a cold, calculating light. He was determined to claim the carbuncle and harness its power for his own nefarious purposes. Born in a distant land across the sea, Datu had once been a respected shaman in his village. His early years were spent learning the traditional ways of healing and communing with nature spirits. However, a thirst for knowledge and power led him down a darker path. He began to seek out forbidden texts and ancient artifacts, each one corrupting his soul a little more. Datu's transformation from healer to dark sorcerer was gradual but irreversible. He discovered an ancient book that spoke of a mystical jewel hidden in a faraway forest, a jewel that could grant its bearer unimaginable power. This knowledge became an obsession, consuming his every waking moment. Years of preparation had led to this moment. Datu had honed his dark arts, sacrificing his humanity bit by bit in exchange for arcane knowledge. His once kind features were now sharp and severe, his eyes holding an otherworldly glow. Tattoos of forbidden symbols covered his arms and chest, each one pulsing with dark energy. As he ventured deeper into Maganhan, Datu's presence seemed to corrupt the very air around him. Flowers wilted in his wake, and small creatures fled in terror. The sorcerer paid no heed to the destruction he caused, his mind was focused solely on his goal. The ancient trees began to whisper warnings, their leaves rustling with urgent messages. "A dark presence approaches," they murmured. "The guardian must be alerted." These whispers traveled through root and branch, a network of communication as old as the forest itself. As the ominous presence of Datu loomed over Maganhan, Sitrong sought the wisdom of Loloamian, the ancient balate tree that served as the spiritual heart of the forest. Coiling around one of her massive roots, Sitrong looked up at the rustling leaves above, his carbuncle glowing with a mix of concern and curiosity. "Loloamian," Sitrong began, his voice a soft hiss, "I fear we face a threat unlike any we've encountered before. What can you tell me about this dark sorcerer, Datu?" The ancient tree's leaves rustled, and a warm breeze carried her voice to Sitrong. "Ah, my dear guardian, the tale of Datu is a long and tragic one. It is a story of how even the noblest of intentions can lead one astray if not tempered by wisdom and compassion." Sitrong settled more comfortably, preparing himself for the tale. "Please, Loloamian, share with me what you know. Understanding our enemy may be key to protecting Maganhan." "Very well," Loloamian's voice whispered through her leaves. "Datu's story begins far from here, across the sea in a land of many islands. He was born into the Magino O class, the highest caste of his people, destined from birth to be a leader." "A leader?" Sitrong asked, surprised. "How does one go from a position of such a responsibility to becoming a dark sorcerer?" Loloamian's branches swayed gently. "Patience, young guardian. The path from light to darkness is often a gradual one. Datu was raised to be a noble, a chief of his people. From a young age, he was trained in the arts of leadership, warfare, and spirituality. As he grew, Datu showed exceptional promise. He was skilled in martial arts, a natural leader, and had a particular aptitude for communing with nature spirits. His people saw him as their future, a leader who would guide them to prosperity and protect them from harm. Sitrong nodded, his forked tongue flicking out thoughtfully. It sounds as though he was much like a guardian, in a way. What changed? Ambition, my dear Sitrong. Ambition and an insatiable thirst for knowledge, Loloamian replied. Datu's desire to protect and elevate his people led him to seek out power beyond the traditional boundaries of his role. He began to travel, visiting distant lands and learning from various cultures. He sought out ancient texts and artifacts, each promising greater power and knowledge. At first, his intentions were noble. He truly believed that with enough power, he could ensure the safety and prosperity of his people. Sitrong's carbuncle pulsed with understanding. But power can be a dangerous lure, can't it, Loloamian? Indeed, young one. With each new piece of forbidden knowledge, each arcane ritual mastered, Datu's soul became a little more corrupted. He justified his actions as necessary for the greater good, but slowly, he began to lose sight of his original noble intentions. The final turning point came when Datu discovered an ancient tome that spoke of a mystical jewel hidden in a faraway forest, our very own Maganhan. The book described the carbuncle you now bear, Sitrong, and hinted at the incredible power it could grant its bearer. Sitrong's coils tightened reflexively around Loloamian's root. So that's why he's come. He seeks the power of the carbuncle. Yes, Loloamian confirmed. The knowledge of the carbuncle became an obsession for Datu. He abandoned his people and his responsibilities, focusing all his energy on preparing for a journey to Maganhan. But surely his people tried to stop him? Sitrong asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Loloamian's leaves rustled sadly. Some did try, but by then, Datu's power had grown considerably. Those who opposed him were dealt with. Many others, seeing his growing strength, chose to follow him out of fear or misguided loyalty. Sitrong fell silent for a moment, processing this information. It's hard to imagine someone falling so far from their intended path. How did he transform from a respected leader to the dark sorcerer we now face? The transformation was gradual but relentless, Loloamian explained. Datu spent years honing his dark arts, sacrificing more and more of his humanity in exchange for arcane knowledge and power. He adorned himself with tattoos of forbidden symbols, each one pulsing with dark energy. His once kind features became sharp and severe, his eyes taking on an otherworldly glow. The man who now approaches our forest is but a shadow of the noble leader he was once destined to become. He is driven by an all-consuming desire for the carbuncle's power, with little regard for the destruction he may cause in his pursuit. Sitrong's carbuncle flashed with determination. Then we must stop him, Loloamian. We cannot allow him to claim the carbuncle and unleash its power for his dark purposes. Indeed, young guardian. But remember, Datu was not always the villain he has become. In facing him, you may find that understanding his past could be key to overcoming him in the present. What do you mean, Loloamian? Sitrong asked, his head tilting in curiosity. The ancient tree's voice took on a thoughtful tone. Consider this, Sitrong. Datu's fall began with a desire to protect and elevate his people. In his heart, misguided though it may now be, he may still believe he is working towards a greater good. You're suggesting that there might still be a spark of his former self within him? Sitrong mused. It's possible, Loloamian replied. The path of darkness is seductive, but it is never truly irreversible. Sometimes, being reminded of one's true nature can be more powerful than any magic. Sitrong nodded slowly, his mind racing with the implications of this information. Thank you, Loloamian. Your wisdom, as always, provides much to consider. But tell me, how do you know so much about Datu's past? A warm breeze rustled through Loloamian's leaves, carrying a hint of amusement. Ah, my dear Sitrong, you forget that my roots reach deep and far. The earth carries whispers of events from distant lands, and over the centuries, I have learned to listen. Moreover, she continued, Datu's story is not unique. Throughout history, there have been many who have walked the path from light to darkness. The details may change, but the essence of the tale remains the same. Sitrong uncoiled himself, preparing to leave. You've given me much to think about, Lolumian. Datu's imminent arrival leaves us little time to prepare, but perhaps understanding his past will help us face the threat he poses. Remember, young guardian, Lolumian's voice grew solemn, in facing Datu, you face not just a dark sorcerer, but a man who has lost his way. Your strength lies not only in the power of the carbuncle but in your connection to Magan and all its inhabitants. Where Datu stands alone, driven by his selfish desires, you are part of something greater. Sitrong's carbuncle glowed warmly in response. Thank you, Lolumian. I will carry your wisdom with me as we prepare for the challenges ahead. Sitrong set off to gather his allies and prepare for Datu's arrival. The knowledge of the sorcerer's past weighed heavily upon him, adding layers of complexity to the impending confrontation. As he moved through the forest, alerting its inhabitants to the coming danger, Sitrong couldn't help but wonder if there might be a way to reach the noble leader that Datu had once been, buried deep beneath layers of darkness and corruption. The forest of Magan hummed with nervous energy as night fell, its creatures big and small preparing for the arrival of the dark sorcerer. And at the heart of it all, Sitrong, the Serpent Guardian, stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed not only with the power of the carbuncle but with the wisdom of Lolumian and the united strength of the forest he had sworn to protect. Datu sensed the forest's resistance to his presence. A cruel smile played across his lips as he raised his staff, a gnarled piece of wood topped with a crystal that glowed with a sickly green light. Your petty magic cannot stop me, he hissed, sending a pulse of dark energy into the ground. The nearest trees groaned in pain, their bark cracking under the assault. Deep within the heart of Magan, Sitrong felt the disturbance like a physical blow. The carbuncle on his forehead pulsed with a warning glow, its light flickering like a heartbeat. Each pulse sent a wave of images through Sitrong's mind, glimpses of Datu's approach and the damage he was causing. Sensing the imminent danger, Sitrong summoned his closest allies. Dali the deer arrived first, her graceful movements belying the urgency of the situation. Dale the hornbill swooped down from the canopy, her usually calm demeanor ruffled. Buntai the macaque swung in last, his eyes wide with concern. We must prepare, Sitrong said, his voice steady but grave. A dark sorcerer named Datu seeks the jewel. He must not be allowed to claim it. The Guardian's words carried the weight of prophecy, and his companions felt a chill run down their spines. What can we do against such dark magic? Dali asked, her voice trembling slightly. Sitrong's carbuncle glowed brighter, its warmth spreading through the gathered friends. We have something Datu does not, the true magic of Magan. Our strength lies not in individual power, but in our unity and our connection to this land. As Sitrong spoke, the very air around them seemed to thicken with magical energy. The Guardian began to outline their plan of defense, each word infused with the ancient power of the forest. Meanwhile, Datu continued his relentless advance. With each step, he could feel the pull of the carbuncle growing stronger. Soon, he muttered to himself, soon all this power will be mine, and the world will tremble at my feet. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of Magan and perhaps the world beyond. As darkness fell, both Sitrong and Datu prepared for the battle ahead, each knowing that only one could emerge victorious.
Thank you for joining us on this new tale of wonder and magic. Catch us next time for the exciting continuation of the adventure of Sitrong and his friends in the next chapter of The Serpent's Pearl here at Kababalaghan 101. We love to hear your thoughts about the story. Let us know in the comments section and share the video to your friends. If you like this kind of videos, Please hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to show your support and help us produce more of these type of content for you. You can reach us through our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Say hi. We would love to hear from our friends and grow the community. Thank you, and stay spooky.